Hey everyone, this is Justin with GearHead Garage. I know it's been quite a while since I've made a video, mostly just because I haven't really wanted to, but I've also been really busy, so I just haven't had a whole lot of free time, but I did want to make a video kind of just voicing my concerns for things I see on a regular basis in today's car market. So one of the big things that I've seen a lot over the past year plus, really, but more and more frequently over like the past year or two, are shops that can't fix a car correctly. And I'm not just talking about, you know, small mom and pop shops or no-name shops, or I'm talking about the chain stores and even dealerships nowadays. I see it like on a weekly basis. Used to be back in the day, I mean, there was always a risk of like saying taking your car to Pep Boys to have it fixed, because who knows who they're hiring, right? But it used to be that if you really wanted your car done right, you would take it over to the dealership, and there was always that knowing in the back of your head that, hey, I'm going to pay more taking my car to the dealership, but it's going to be fixed right because it's the dealership and this is like the top tier. Like, they're the ones that sold me the car in some cases, or, you know, but like the dealership is like the cream of the crop, you would think, as far as being able to fix your car and fix it correctly. And man, I'm sorry to say that is just not the case anymore. And it's not just one dealership in particular. It's several different car brands and different locations and so on and so forth. I've had customers take a car in for a concern. They'll get it back and it has a whole list of new concerns. Or I'll give you a quick example. I had a customer a little while ago who had a Volkswagen Tiguan. I believe it was a Tiguan, maybe like a 2020 or so. And she contacted me one day and said, hey, I have a leak under my car. I'm not sure what it is. It might be coolant. So I was like, okay. So what I told her was, I'm like, don't drive the car. You know, if it's a small coolant leak, sometimes you can be okay to still drive it as long as you're checking your coolant levels and stuff like that, if like you had to get it home or what have you. But I was like, hey, just don't drive it until I know like how severe of a leak it is. So I actually went to their house because I didn't want them to drive it to me and chance it being a massive leak and the car overheating and getting ruined and all that stuff. So I went to her house and got to checking it out. And turns out it was a pretty common issue on one of those. It was I want to say it was the water pump housing. They have like a plastic housing, and I mean, a lot of these cars now have plastic everything, right? So shouldn't be too surprised, but it's like a plastic water pump housing that's got like a thermostat housing and all sorts of stuff intertwined in it. And after I looked at it, I could see where the leak was, and it was a pretty decent sized leak. And I did my research and found out that there was an extended warranty for this item. So I told her, I was like, hey, I'm like, I could fix this. I'm like, it's going to be very expensive, you know. I'm like, the parts are not cheap for those, and to do it, you got to take quite a bit of parts off, and it's quite a bit of time and labor to fix this correctly. So I told her, I'm like, look, there's an extended warranty for this particular issue. So what you can do is call the dealership. There happened to be one like not too far from her house. Call the dealership, give them your VIN number, and tell them you have a coolant leak and you think it's this, or you had somebody look at it and told you it was this part, and they should fix it for free. So she was very grateful. I told her the truth there, and I wasn't just like, hey, let me fix it and I'm going to charge you all this money. I don't like doing that, you know. So I told her, I was like, hey, take it to the dealership. They should fix it for free. She was like, oh, that's great. Contacted me a couple days later. She's like, hey, I talked to the dealership. They said they're going to take care of everything. I'm going to take it in there on Monday or whatever it was. I was like, oh, that's awesome. You're very welcome. Let me know how you make out. So a little while later, I ran into this customer, and I was like, hey, how did you make out with the car? She's like, oh. I was like, oh no, what happened? So she's like, well, took it over there. They did it for free, which they said they would. So she's like, that was awesome. Pick up the car, take it home. Next morning I come out, giant coolant leak all over the driveway. She's like, it was still leaking. I just have a hard time wrapping my head around. So you have a car come into the dealership for a coolant leak. You do the work to supposedly repair this leak. Would you not check to make sure this thing is not leaking when it leaves your shop? I mean, come on. I mean, I don't know. I know a lot of dealerships now are having trouble hiring capable people. I think there is like a large problem with this industry. I think a lot of the people that were super knowledgeable about things are starting to get out of the industry because, let's be honest, new cars are a pain in the butt. They're not easy to work on. You need like a technology degree to be able to diagnose half of this stuff, right? So it's all computers. A lot of the old heads that were in the industry, they don't want to deal with this. They're getting old anyway. They're retiring. So now they got some of these young kids in the dealership, and I don't know. I don't know where they're finding these kids, if they're certified or what the deal is, but it just seems like they don't know anything about fixing stuff correctly and then, checking their work, which is, I think like day one stuff. If somebody brings me a car for a complaint and I diagnose it and I fix it, I'm going to double check. I'm going to drive it afterwards. If it was a leak, I'm going to double check, make sure the leak is gone, if it has to sit overnight, what have you, I'm going to make sure that thing is 100% fixed. I don't want stuff having to come back. It's not a good reflection of me, and it's a pain in the butt for the customer, right? So, stuff like that. I mean, and it wasn't just that one instance. There's other instances. Customer takes a car to a shop, and for a certain amount of issues, they look at it, can't figure it out. Finally, they think they got it. They say, okay, come pick up the car. It's got another warning light on that wasn't on before. It's got a whole bunch of other issues. It's not driving. Like, all this stuff, like, constantly. So, that's one of the big gripes I have with different shops today. So, sometimes I'll have customers ask me to do a certain job, and I'm in a limited space here. I try to do quicker jobs, stuff I can get it in and out in one day. I don't like stuff, I'm not doing engine rebuilds here, I just don't have the time or the space to really do that sort of thing. So I am very real when customers ask me about certain stuff. I'm like, hey, just not something I'm looking to take on right now, or I just don't have the space to do it. So I'll tell them straight up. But a lot of times they'll be like, okay, can you recommend a shop that I can take it to? And I'm really having a hard time now trying to find a reputable shop around here besides myself that I actually trust. So that's kind of one of the issues. Another issue that I'm seeing a lot of now is not with the dealerships or anything. It's with the owners of the cars, okay? I don't know what it is nowadays. Nobody even thinks to check their oil anymore, which is, like the most basic of things. And I swear that 90% of the people out there think that the only maintenance their car ever needs is to change the oil, and tires every now and then, and maybe brakes. They don't think about transmission fluid. They don't think about coolant flushes, brake fluid flushes, power steering flushes. They don't think about all the other fluids that are in your car. Just the other day, my mom has a 2017 4Runner. It's got about 60,000 on it. And I told her the other day, because I was in it, and I was like, hey, your maintenance light's on. She's like, oh, yeah. I was going to tell you about that. I was like, okay. I'm like, well, this isn't the maintenance soon. This is the maintenance light. On those, they have a maintenance soon indicator. It comes on at 4,500 miles. And then at 5,000, it's maintenance due now, basically. I'm like, this has been on for a while. You Probably should have told me, but whatever. So I was like, all right, do an oil change. Has a washable air filter, so I cleaned that. Also cleaned the mass airflow, cleaned the throttle body, replaced the cabin filter because that was gross. Rotated the tires. When I rotated the tires, I noticed, hey, brakes are starting to get a little low. That's all right. Tires were still good. She replaced them last year, so that was good. But all the air fluids in this thing are original. So I was like, hey, we got to do all these fluids. And I was like, I want to do a transmission flush. I want to do a transfer case fluid change, front differential, and rear differential, And she's like, man, you really got to do all that work? How come all this stuff needs to be done right now? I'm like, everything in a car has a lifespan, not just, the oil. You're going to need a serpentine belt soon. It's due. So, there's that thought that people are just like, well, it drives fine. Why do I need to change it? I'm like, there's two types of ways to think about this, okay? There are proactive repairs and reactive repairs. Proactive meaning you're doing stuff that's due to be done before it becomes an issue, Flush your coolant when it's due. Change your spark plugs when they're due. Change your serpentine belt. Just really basic maintenance here, guys. It's not that complicated. And people they have a hard time getting their head around it. Most of them just don't understand. They're like, well, it drives fine. Well, why do I have to do this? I'm like, well, do you want it to keep driving fine? Some people just want to change the oil and maybe put tires on once. And when it blows up at 100,000 miles, they just go buy something new. And I'm just not wired that way, If I buy a car, it's something I really like, and I want to have it basically forever. Take the truck behind me. It's a 2006 Toyota Tacoma X-Runner. It just went over 250,000 miles the other day. I drive this thing everywhere. I take it on long road trips. I just came back from a little road trip. My buddy drove it. He said it ran great. That thing runs and drives like a brand new car. I've driven other cars that have 200,000 miles that have not been maintained super well, but credit to them, they still drive. But you get in it and drive down the road, you smell burning oil because there's some oil leaks. The suspension's all clunking. There's vibrations when you hit the brakes, stuff like that. I'm always about, get to stuff before it becomes an issue, right? So the problem with the reactive repairs is you're waiting until something has already failed. And when people think about it, they're like, well, I haven't had to put any money. I guess I put some money into it now. But now it's become a much larger issue, and it's going to be a lot more expensive. So I was just talking to a customer about this, and he has a 2009 Accord, has low mileage, has under 60,000 miles. And I just recently did a trans service for him and did the oil change and rotated his tires, put a new serpentine belt on them, and stuff like that, And he's like, man, I'm so grateful, He's like, I really like this car. He's like, just after doing the things you did the other day, driving it, he's like, it feels better, And you just get that sense, like it's healthier, And I told him, I was like, hey, you are going to be due for brakes soon, maybe by the next oil change. I'm like, but this is how you keep a car for long term, And some people might look at it and be like, oh man, you just had your trans service done, you just put new tires on, now you're going to have to put brakes on it, all this other stuff. People look at that and they're like, man, I feel like you're putting a lot of money and stuff into this car. It's kind of a money pit, and they're driving around their car that they've only done an oil change on for its entire life, thinking they're like, oh man, that poor sap. But guess what? That car is going to be going for 200,000 miles if it keeps up on the maintenance. Your car is going to blow up at 100,000 if you get that far because you're not doing any maintenance on it, and then you're shocked when something does go wrong. So it's just that mentality, It's hard to wrap my head around. I had another customer, has a Honda CR-V, some higher mileage. They bought it used a couple years ago, and he's a buddy of mine, and he was like, hey, a couple weeks ago, he's like, I just got to check engine light. I was like, okay. I'm like, he's like, it's driving fine otherwise. I'm like, yeah, sometimes a check engine light isn't anything, super serious. But then he was like, yeah, he's like, also, he's like, when I get in the car in the morning, he's like, it's a little loud. He's like, it kind of sounds like maybe the exhaust. I was like, okay. And I did remember the last time I looked under that car, the exhaust was a little sketchy. I told him it was probably going to need a new exhaust system on it at some point. I was like, okay. I'm like, it might be the exhaust. And if you have a check engine light, I'm like, I do want to scan it as soon as possible and make sure it's nothing major. But I'm like, if it's what I'm thinking, it could have been like an exhaust leak before the cat there where I saw, it was deteriorating a bit. I'm like, it could be a cat code, and those two things could be the same issue. But I was like, hey, but still, I'm like, bring it to me like tomorrow if you can, and let me just scan it. I'm like, it takes 2 minutes. I'll scan it for you. It's no big deal. Figure out what it is. All right. Didn't hear from him. Hear from him like a week and a half later. Text me like first thing in the morning, picture of his car on the back of a flatbed. So I call him. I was like, oh boy, what happened? He goes, so I was driving my car home last night, and he's like, still had the check engine light on. He's like, he's like, for the past couple days, the oil light's flashing every once in a while. I was like, whoa. I'm like, are you saying like the actual like little red oil can thing? He's like, yeah, that's the one. I was like, oh my God. So that light's coming on. Turn the car off. Get it looked at. Check your oil at the very minimum, I'm like, that's not good. I'm like, you're losing oil pressure if that light's flickering on. He's like, well, anyway, he's like, so I was driving at home. He's like, I got working late. Driving home 1 o'clock in the morning. Nobody on the road. He's like, I'm a couple miles from home. I'm at a red light. Sitting there, car shuts off. I'm like, oh my God. So he's like, go to restart. He goes, it restarts. He's like, so I keep driving home. He's like, I'm only a couple miles. He's like, I get a mile down the road, car just shuts off. I'm like, ugh. He's like, I get the tow truck driver over there, and I'm telling him what's going on, and I told him the car shut off. He's like, kind of sounds like an alternator. I was like, yeah, if you didn't tell me your check engine light was on and the oil light was turning on, I would maybe go along the same road. Yeah, it could be an alternator, losing charging system, wants to shut off on you. Plausible, but not with that oil light on. I'm like, I'm thinking you ran your car out of oil and it locked up on you. So anyway, he ends up taking it to this other shop he likes taking it to. He gets his oil changes and stuff done there supposedly sometimes, and took it over there. I'm like, oh boy. I'm like, well, let me know what they say. Calls me in the afternoon. He's like, I just picked up the car. I'm like, oh, that's good. I'm like, I was expecting him to call me and be like, yep, they say I need a motor. So that's kind of what I was thinking. So I was like, what'd they say? He's like, well, they said the noise I was hearing in the morning apparently was not an exhaust leak like I thought. He's like, it was the timing chains rattling. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, this poor car. And he's like, they checked the oil and it was damn near out of oil. And I was like, oh my God. He's like, they changed the oil and they topped it off, and he's like, they started it up and it's got a rattle still at the startup. The timing chains are rattling. He's like, but it runs. I was like, okay. I'm like, well, just know this motor's probably on borrowed time now, I mean, it is a Honda. I'm surprised the thing came back to life. Most cars, they would shut off from low oil pressure. That's death sentence. They seize up, whatever, So, hell yeah, Honda, it's still around. He came by this morning. I actually just did another oil change on him. He brought it over for me to scan the check engine light. It does have a cat code in it, but it's still running. And after the cold start rattle from the timing chains, which a lot of those K20s do anyway, it runs okay. And I'm stunned. And I told him, I'm like, every other day now, I'm like, be checking your oil. And he's like, yeah, I haven't had to put oil in it. And then he was like, right before this all happened, he's like, I did have the oil change at let's say a quick lube place. And he's like, after I had it done, he's like, I did notice some oil spots in my driveway, and I figured maybe they just didn't clean up under there, and it was just residual from when they changed it. And I'm thinking, oh man, did these guys double gasket an oil filter? Did they not tighten the drain plug? Did they underfill it? And I'm like, man, that could have been your smoking gun right there. I'm like, because it doesn't seem like it's using oil now. So I don't know what shop it was. It was a quick lube place, you know. But man, going right back to it. So, but if you have a car that you really like, always be changing the oil on time. Some people are like, I don't know when the last time I changed my oil was. I'm like, it's the simplest thing, you know. I mean, it's cheap insurance. $100 oil change nowadays, you know, it's a hell of a lot cheaper than buying a motor, you know. So just do your oil changes, you know, at the bare minimum. And don't be buying this crap that these dealerships and oil companies are telling you, you can go 15,000 miles between intervals. No, 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 no. 5,000 miles. That's what I do on every single customer's car. On some, if they're like driven hard, 3,000 miles. You know, I do 3,000 on my own cars, you know, just because I'm like extra OCD about it. But man, it's just the simplest thing, you know. Do your maintenance. If you have a car and you want it to last long, be proactive, not reactive. You know, it's easy. It really is, guys. So that's my little rant for today, guys. If you want, I could do another vehicle update. I have done some changes on the trucks and stuff over the past few months here. So if you want to see more, check back in. See ya.